Okay, we're gonna go ahead and get started. We forgot to do attendance last meeting, just so people, when we post it, know who's on. So we're gonna go ahead and do that this time. Just say here when I say your name. Ashby Dower.
Here.
Jared Dower.
Here.
Audrey Nolan.
Here.
Caleb Booth.
Here.
Cooper Kaufelt.
Here.
Jenna McCall. Jenna, are you on?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Madeline Brayman.
Here.
Savay Sexton. Savay. Stephanie Golightly.
Here.
And I think that's everyone that's on. Did I miss anyone? Okay. Well, we're gonna go ahead and get started. I just want, JD and I kind of decided to start the meeting off. You know, we've been talking to a few readers lately, and one of them gave us this really good quote, and I kind of thought it fit, you know, our committee, and I thought it was kind of cute to share. And it's, we are working for the future. We want to leave this association better than we found it. So no matter what we decide, you know, we're always working to better it for the future. And someone even made the comment in our survey answers that, you know, it's about our grandchildren. So hopefully this association will still be around for them. But anyway, we're gonna go ahead and go over the survey responses before we get started. So we have the option to do by like what each person said for all 4 answers, or we can go off of like, this is all the answers to question 1, here's all the answers to question 2. Which would y'all rather do?
I think all the answers for each question by themselves.
Okay. Does that work for everyone else?
I would rather do the second way you said it.
Yeah, that's the going all the questions for the first, or all the answers for the first one, right, Cooper?
Yes.
Okay. So everyone's good with that. We'll go ahead and do that. Let me pull it up. And I do want to say, you know, whether you are for it or against it, there are answers on both sides that are very particular in how they are worded. I just want everyone to be aware of that before we get started. And I know some of y'all are on the phone, and so if you're on the phone, you can't see the computer screen, correct?
I can see it.
Okay, is there anyone that can't see the computer screen? Anyone? No? Awesome. Okay, so maybe, well, JD and I had an advisor meeting, I guess, last week to go over them, because y'all will notice that they aren't on this evening, because several of y'all expressed after our last meeting that you maybe didn't feel as though you were able to speak up as freely. So this meeting is just the committee members. So, but on last week's meeting, you know, we kind of read them out to everyone. But if y'all can see the computer screen, we'll just kind of go through them. And if y'all want to point one out or have questions about one, we can stop and discuss it and do whatever we need. So, so the first question was, list the positive attributes for merging our two junior associations. We had total of 61 total responses, and there's 58 responses to this question, okay? And I'll just scroll through them and y'all can read them as you please. That way I don't have to read them all out to you. If I'm going too fast, let me know, and I will slow down. But if y'all see one you want to talk about, let us know and we can discuss it. Am I going too fast or is that a good pace?
I think it's good.
Okay. Well, if I'm going too fast, please let me know and I'll slow down. Kaylee, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we're going through this first question, which is the list of positive attributes for merging, okay? Can you see the
Yes.
screen? Okay. If I go too fast, let me know and I'll slow down.
All right.
So that's the end of the positives. Do y'all have anything to add that you don't think someone mentioned? Or do you have any questions about anything they mentioned? Any thoughts? Anyone? Okay. If not, we'll go ahead and move on to the negatives if everyone's done reading. So the question 2 is, list the negative attributes for merging our 2 junior associations. We had 59 answers to this question. Again, if y'all want to stop me at any point, let me know, and let me know if I'm moving too fast.
Give me just a second. I need to write something down.
Okay.
So while we're waiting on her to write that down, what are the outdated principles that we are using at this moment?
I mean, I don't know. These are just from the breeders that we sent out this survey to, and they're all anonymous. So honestly, I mean, I like the fact that they're anonymous because I feel like people are more honest, but also if I have a question about their answer, I can't ask them.
Yeah, I get that, but
I don't know what outdated practices. To be honest, I feel like we're pretty current. But I mean, do y'all have any ideas what outdated practices are? No.
all right, that was just a question I had.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly don't know, Caleb, and I don't have any idea who sent it in, so.
Okay.
Are you good, Jenna, or do I still need to wait?
I'm good, sorry.
No, you're good. On this one where it says see above, they put their negatives on question 1. So, I mean, I can go look and see what they said if y'all want me to. But y'all read it on question 1. Do y'all want me to go back and look at it, or?
No, I think it's fine.
Okay. while we're right here, what are some of y'all's ideas on like the two traditions or the traditions that will be lost?
Just in my opinion here, a lot of the traditions will be lost because the Olds have one way of doing some things, whereas the Horns have a different way. And that's what makes the two organizations special in their own ways. For example, with the Queen, with the sweetheart, the royalty on both sides they'll have to do a lot of changing because if we combine the associations, yes, the breeds will still remain separate to an extent. The Hereford Auxiliary and the Polettes will have to somehow work together to maintain the royalty's image, if you will.
That brings up a good point. I have talked to both members of the Polettes and the Auxiliary, and as of this point right now, whether we merge or don't merge, they plan on the royalty to stay the same. Polds will get to keep their sweethearts, princesses, queen, and then the Horn side will get to keep their sweetheart and queen. Basically, from what I understand, basically you just have to show some way that you would have been a polled member. So basically, attach a copy of like a registration paper to your application that says you own a polled heifer, bull, steer, whatever it would have been, because that would have signified that you would have been a polled member.
So some of the things I've thought about is the scholarships we give out, because the Polled Association gives out scholarships that are specifically for polled members, such as some of the memorial scholarships, and the Horn does the same exact thing. And
Yes.
I really think, you can still kind of signify who's polled and who's Horn when you're merged, but at the same time, like it's not the same if you really think about it. And those scholarships, what are you going to do with those? Because some of them are from the junior associations and not our adult associations.
And Jenna, I just want to add that if you just show one polled heifer, then you can become the polled queen.
Mm-hmm.
But there are some people that have shown polled heifers all their life and don't get that opportunity.
So I'll just go ahead. JD and I have been working on contacting all of the people that give money for scholarships. We still have 2 more to go that we have not contacted yet. But as of right now, everyone who gives money for scholarships is fully supportive in whatever we decide. They said that they 100% support whatever the juniors want to do, whether we want to merge, whether we want to stay separate. They said they would still be happy to keep giving their scholarships and all of that. The Polettes and the Auxiliary feel the same way. And then, excuse me, sorry. And then I talked to Robbie and Jack. So Robbie said that the junior polled side gives up to 5 scholarships to high school seniors each year, I believe. Or maybe it's college freshmen, whatever it is. He said that will all depend on if we merge, how we allocate the money. And so, that would be up to us. I don't see any reason to get rid of those scholarships. And I don't think there's any reason we can't say, the Polled Association has $50,000 that needs to be put into a scholarship fund to collect interest, and, we can pay out 5 scholarships or whatever we need to a year. And then on Jack's side, the foundation and the memorial ones over there, he said those will all stay in place, that it doesn't matter if we merge or don't merge. And that the foundation ones, the polled and horned kids are included, and that anyone can apply for that. So that wouldn't be affected at all. Does that answer y'all's questions? And like I said, there are 2 more people that we need to get in contact with about their scholarships that I just have not had the opportunity to do this week. So.
Hey, who did you talk to on each board?
On the Pollette and Auxiliary boards?
Yes.
On the Auxiliary board, I talked to Anna Kruger. And then on the Pollette board, I talked to Aaron Lockhart.
So while we have this discussion open on the topic at hand here, the survey was great and all, and we get an idea of what the breeders and members are thinking, but really and truly, the foundation of this committee was made to find out the pros and cons and report back to our respective boards.
Yes.
And and this is just in my opinion, if we don't have a consensus of the entire associations, polled and horned, for or against, we are honestly kind of wasting our time. If
Yeah.
we come up with if we're already figuring out scholarships, money dues, so on and so forth, we're kind of overstepping our bounds. Granted, it is to answer questions that people have, but at the same time, we're still overstepping a little outside of what the committee was founded to do.
I agree completely. And the only reason that, we've checked on these things is to answer the questions that people have and to help them determine, whether they would be for or against. But yes, the committee was founded to, basically give our recommendation whether we should merge or not merge. But also in that, I think, our goal of this is to gather as much information. And I think that information includes, theoretically what would happen with all of these different important entities. So, but yes, I agree. We probably are stepping outside of our discussion just a little bit.
Okay, and do we have, from this survey, do we have any idea of from the people that we sent the survey to, do we have any idea of what, if they are for or against? Because so far we have positives and negatives, but we don't have a concrete evidence of where they would vote.
No. JD and I talked about it, and we purposely did not put that question in there because we want to present them with what we find before they make their decision. We don't want them to go in and say, this is yes, this is no, without being educated on what the juniors want or what our committee decides. So the only semi-concrete thing we have is our question 3, and it would be, if the junior associations were to combine, would you still support them? And JD and I kind of put that question in there financially in mind, since, one of our disadvantages was we thought we would lose financial sponsors. And that's kind of where JD and I headed that question.
Pretty much.
But no, we don't have an actual concrete, 25 people are going to vote for, 25 people are going to vote no.
Okay. I just think when we come to state show with the majority of the members that will be there, we need to hold a poll or some kind of survey to get an idea of where the association's head's at before we give our reasons.
Okay. That kind of brings us to our next point. In our advisor meeting, we kind of talked about, and y'all can shoot this down, say you don't like it, say you want to do something else, that's completely fine. But the advisors kind of thought, maybe we do a question and answer educational session, basically presenting everyone with all of the information we've gathered, and then opening it up for questions that any juniors or breeders have, and then maybe delay voting until State Show 2019 so that people can have some time to think about it. There are several comments in here that they thought it was brought about kind of hasty, so give them some time to think about it, talk to other people, something like that. What are your opinions on that?
So I agree with having the educational part to tell everybody what we're doing and why we're doing it and the pros and cons and so forth. But I also agree that we need to push voting back.
Okay.
We don't need to vote right away. We need to get everybody's head in the right area before we make a large decision like this.
Agree.
I think it's a good idea to have the question and answer session at Belton or at the state show.
But with that, we still need to do a poll or survey somewhat to figure out where everybody's head's at.
And so do you think we should do that before or after if we were to do this educational session?
I think we should do it after.
After? Okay. And, theoretically, based on, kind of what y'all thought about it, Savannah and Carter and I kind of talked and sat down and looked to see where the best place, because, our schedule is so jam-packed, kind of the best place we thought to put it to make sure we'd have time is probably going to be after the Thursday night banquet, because that's the shorter banquet of the two. And we're probably going to put a cap on it and say, we can only discuss for hour and a half, because there's many people in our association, juniors, adults, whatever, that could discuss for hours and hours. So what do y'all think about that? We thought that most of the people would be in by then, because there was room on Wednesday to put it, but we didn't know if some of the breeders and stuff would be in by then. So we thought Thursday was our best option time-wise. What do y'all think? And I know that's going to be kind of late. We might not get some younger juniors, but.
I mean, I think that's a really good idea, but if we push the polling of them till Friday before the banquet, I think that would give them time to listen to what we have to say and then mingle amongst themselves and come up with where they want to be with it.
That's kind of what I was thinking, because I know personally, like, I won't be there until Friday, and I know of a lot of other, your breeders don't come in until Friday night's banquet anyway, so why not do it between the end of the show and banquet?
On Friday?
On Friday, yeah.
Let me, JD, can you pull up the schedule? Let me pull up the schedule and make sure, because I know on Friday afternoon we have several contests, and I just want to make sure we'll have time at the end of the contest to get as much included as possible. And I think the polled meeting is Friday afternoon as well.
So the only problem I see with pushing it back till Friday, pushing the educational part of it back till Friday, is you're not going to give everybody as much time to really talk about it inside in the barn.
Okay.
So you kind of reduce some of that communication. So if we still did it on Thursday and say we did like a live stream to where people could send in questions who aren't there yet.
Okay, I like that idea. As of Friday, we have the show, the Bred and Owned and the Steer, and the mini show start at 8. And then immediately after that, we have Team Marketing at 2, Ice Cream Social at 3:30, Quiz Bowl Buzz Around at 4, Old Hereford meeting at 5, and then dinner starts at 6:30. So I would be concerned we would not have anywhere that would not overlap a contest on Friday to hold it.
And then also the dance is after the
and then
dinner.
We're having more of a adult like inclusion dance after dinner. So but yes, Jen, I agree with your saying that a bunch of breeders won't be there till Friday. Do you think if we live streamed it, I mean, I know several breeders aren't on Facebook or something, but do you think it would help?
I don't know. Honestly, I really don't know, because a lot of people aren't on Facebook, like you said.
Yeah.
Especially the older ones that are kind of against and want to know what we're thinking.
Yeah. And that's what kind of Savannah and Carter and I said, we didn't quite know where to fit it due to time constraint and, participation. So, we're open to ideas, but is this something that y'all would be interested in doing?
Yeah, for sure.
I think it definitely needs to be brought up, especially for people who don't know quite what it would happen.
Is there anyone against doing this? No.
I think it sounds like a good idea for us to all be able to be there in person and kind of talk about it and then put it off and vote, like you said, at state show the next year so that everybody can be there in person so we can all discuss it, because I think that maybe help with some of the confusion that's happening right now.
I agree with that.
And, that was kind of our thought process behind it, clear up as much confusion as we can, give people some more time to think about it, talk to other breeders, people like that. And that way we're going in where people are educated on what's going on and all of that. But let's go ahead and finish off these negatives. Unless y'all have something else y'all wanted to say about that. Yes. Okay, we'll go on with the negatives then. If I go too fast, let me know. Did it move?
Hey, Riley.
Yes.
I think something that needs to be mentioned, because I've seen it several times, is that these publications, they're not from the junior associations, they're from our adult associations.
Yes.
I mean,
And
that needs to be thrown out there so people get that. Like, that has nothing to do with us.
yeah, exactly. There's several comments in here that, the juniors can't control. And I think that educational session will help. And, explain that, the adult associations aren't merging, so the publications and all of that won't change. But yes, I agree. So did everyone read through the negatives? Yes. Any other questions, comments, concerns about them? Okay, we'll go to question 3. And this one is, if the junior associations were to combine, would you still support them? So 44 responses said yes, 11 said no. But we also put an option for like an other category where you could leave a comment if you wanted. And we'll go through those.
I know that the comment says that we tried to vote on it at Fort Worth. However, in order to create the committee to follow parliamentary procedure, we had to make a motion before we could make the committee. And that was simply us trying to follow parliamentary procedure.
Oh,
That
crud.
way, everything
Sorry.
would have been done correctly.
Sorry, guys. Did not mean to do that. Okay, that's the end of the other comments. Did any of y'all have any questions, comments, concerns about those? If not, we'll move on to question 4. And question 4 was just any additional comments that they wanted us to hear. And there's 42 responses to this one. So.
when it's talking about the combined classes, our classes at Fort Worth are already roughly around 40 heads. So I mean, even if it's combined, they're still gonna have to break classes down, aren't they?
Yeah, so at Fort Worth this year, our biggest class, I think, was going to be 34, and then they broke it down. So
Right.
we're,
Well, because I know the last 4 years since I've been showing back in the state of Texas, my first year, their biggest class was 35, and next year I was in one of their biggest classes, and it was roughly around 40. And then last year, serving as a sweetheart, we saw a class that had within the 40 amount. So I mean, even with us being separated, we still have huge classes.
yeah.
But with steers, they don't break it down. So it's lightweight, medium weight, and heavyweight. That's all you have. So it's going to be a lot more with steers.
That is true. But like when they're talking about the sales slots, even if they combine the steer show, yes, we're losing 30 steer slots, but they can decide to, hey, let's give them an extra 10 or 15 because they are combined, while they're still trying to figure out if they're going to separate the crossbreds or not to make them a less big of a show. So, I mean, we might not be getting 30 if they do combine. We could be getting 40, 45 just because we combine 40.
But they're going to give those sales spots to a different breed. They're not going to give us more because we're combined.
While that topic's brought up, we'll just let you know that JD and I have reached out to the advisors, and we are working on getting an official statement from Fort Worth, Houston, and Dallas, and see if they will give us a quote or a statement on what they foresee happening if we merge. Just so everyone's aware, because we've just been getting conflicting stories, and we just want a straight answer. And I was hopeful we would have it this week, but that didn't happen. So
Here's the thing with that though, is like they can promise it for you right now, but 20 years down the road, like that's not going to mean anything whenever there's a new director over the show.
I agree. And that's all they can say is what's, happening in the next, year or two. And we don't know what's going to happen in 5 or 10. So.
Hey, Riley.
Yes.
Which advisors, like, did you have a meeting for? Like, which advisors did you talk about for, like, the statement for Fort Worth?
The committee advisors. So we had the Lockharts, the West, the McClendons, and the Allens. Okay, that's all the other comments. If everyone's finished reading. Do y'all have any comments, questions, concerns about this? No? Okay, well, that's the end of the survey. So we want y'all to tell us what you think. Do you think it was beneficial? Do you think it was not?
I think it was helpful for everyone to see kind of what everyone else thought from different people's views, from older breeders to newer breeders and the association. So I think that was cool to see what other people had to say about it.
I think it was really cool. I just wish we could have gotten a little more detail on some people's answers because we don't know what they mean, and it's hard to do anything with that.
Yeah,
Agreed.
I relate. Yes.
Fully understand.
But secondly, something I read, and it kind of like hit me wrong, is our junior members aren't working together, but combining the organization's not going to change anything if the members themselves don't work together already. So that was just kind of something I saw. Like, that's not going to fix that. Like, that's us ourselves as humans who need to fix that.
Yeah.
Agreed.
And y'all might have a different opinion, but I thought, to be honest, our junior associations work together well, like, ring help and that sort of thing. I do think there's some slight conflict and maybe don't work together the best when it comes to state show stuff, but
Yeah.
obviously having one association is not going to fix that either. So
I think that doing this survey was a good way to figure out what people think and what we need to be prepared for in the question and answer session at State Show if we're able to make that happen.
I agree with that completely.
I think it was okay, I'm unmuted. But I think it was a good idea because it kind of gives us an idea of where we're going to be at for the question and answer survey or session. What kind of questions we need to bring to them, what kind of questions we're going to get from them.
I'm going to be completely caught off guard by majority of them.
Yeah.
And just if y'all were curious, I kind of went through after, because the advisors had posed this question to us, if I could go through and, kind of count, if I could tell, if a comment was for or against, and I kind of went through and counted, and there was a few that just stated, some questions or some examples, but I didn't know if they were for or against, but all in all, it was about 50-50.
Yeah, and I think the only way that we can get a real concrete evidence of who's for and against is if we hold a poll for and against.
Yeah, I agree.
I hope that after the question and answer at the state show, they'll have an educated answer, and then from there, it will help us. As long as we don't do and I wouldn't mind doing a poll before it and after it, personally. To simply see if people that did not know and after they were educated, did they change their mind, or are they still stuck in their ways of, I still don't like it?
I agree with that too. I think it would make.
Here's another idea on that. What if y'all did one like earlier in the week and then one at the end of the week? Because people are going to think of more questions after they go through that.
Yeah.
They definitely will. And the other bonus of that is we're all still going to be there throughout the entire week. We're the chairs, but y'all are still part of the committee, and y'all can answer questions just as well as we can.
And I think we need to set up some kind of table or something down where they have entries or something like that where people can come to us during the week, or they can. That's if they don't know who's on the committee.
Oh, that brings up my next question. I meant to ask y'all at the beginning. Does anyone oppose having their name published on Facebook that they're a part of the committee? We've had several people ask for like a published list of the committee members, and I wanted to check with y'all before I published your name on Facebook.
I think it'd be awesome.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
That way,
Do that so people know who to call.
reach out to
So does me.
everybody.
I'm good with it.
Okay, but no one opposes.
No, ma'am.
Okay, perfect. So we're gonna go ahead and post that. We'll probably post it along with when I get this converted to YouTube, we'll probably post it when I post that on Facebook.
Wait,
Yes.
when you convert this, are they going to be able to see your screen or no? Because a lot of our conversation is based off your screen. So
Yes, I believe so. Ooh, I don't know.
It's always been off.
We only do audio normally.
Yes, we do.
Right, I didn't think about that. Well, what I can also do is, I don't know. Let me talk, Tim and Aaron actually do it for me because it's a really large file. Let me ask them. I think the only other thing I could do is I can like copy the question and answers into like a Word document and post it with it.
Except that'd be a 42-page.
It wouldn't be that much.
It'd be a lot of pages.
Yeah, let me talk to Tim and Aaron and I'll let you know because yeah, I didn't even think about that crud. We'll figure something out. And if not, then I'll go through and record, listing off all the questions.
Yes.
But that's a good point, and I would never have thought of that. There's just gonna be a lot of blank space on the recording. Whoops.
Yes, there will be.
Any other question, comments, concerns about the survey? Okay, well, when we met with the advisors, we kind of pulled out some of the main disadvantages that people said. And the main things that we caught were the shows merging, leadership positions, scholarship, and royalty. Those were kind of the main four. I guess there's a few other negatives that they brought up. But like we said earlier, we're trying to figure out the scholarships, just to see where we would be at.
If it were to happen.
If it were to happen. The royalty, we're hoping, the Paulettes and the auxiliary said that will not change. So that's good. The leadership, Tim brought up an idea at our last meeting. I think, was that our last meeting?
Yes, it was.
It was our last meeting. Kind of describing, something that, him and I had kind of talked about just as an idea. And several people were confused by it and didn't quite understand how that would work. And this is not something we have to do. This is just an idea that we kind of thought of, but I kind of drew up a flow chart just to visualize it so y'all could see it better. And obviously this is just a starting point and some ideas, and it kind of but answers the questions people have about leadership positions and how they would change. If I can find it, here we go.
No, that's not good.
It's doing that. Okay, there we go. So basically what he described is, you'd have a past president, and a president-elect. And then, we kind of talked about having like 3 vice presidents below them. And all of these names are changeable if y'all don't like the idea. And this is just kind of going off of like the committee list we have now and like a way to structure it. So that we can give people an idea of what we could do. So that way we don't lose any leadership positions. But anyway, you'd have like a vice president of competitive events. And, underneath them, they would have all of these different chairmen of committees for each contest. And, Tim and I talked about maybe having a junior director under each of them so that the junior directors, we could have more junior directors and they would be able to gain some leadership opportunities, but also learn under the chairman. And, we can add more and, so say, showmanship's a pretty big responsibility. Well, we can add people that aren't directors to that committee to help. But just so there's someone like designated each year
be chairman of that.
To be chairman of it so that we know it goes a little smoother. And then like the vice president of livestock, entries are a pretty big deal, stalling, and then like show ring organization, so like decorations, and like which directors are going to work the ring. And you can have 2 directors under each of those. And then like the vice president of membership, and this is kind of still what I'm thinking of. And Cole McClendon at our advisor meeting actually made a really good point. We could have a committee for like social media, and that person can be in charge of live streaming our champion drives, posting, here's the schedule for the 2019 state show, stuff like that. But this just kind of gives everyone an idea of like what we could do. That way we're not losing any leadership positions. And I totaled it up. Sorry, I cannot talk. And that's kind of the breakdown of it. And we can add more, take away more, whatever y'all think. But I know some people were confused by the way Tim was describing it. So I kind of put this together just to show what he was talking about. And I mean, we're not saying, if we merge, this is what we're going to do. That's not it at all. Just trying to show that, we can have as many, if not more, leadership positions and add more junior director positions, because I know that was a comment in the survey as they wanted more junior director positions. But
we agree.
This is just something to show people that if they ask and say, this is something we can't do. Do y'all have any questions or comments about this? or any ideas? Anyone like this idea? Don't like this idea?
Like the way you said it. Like it's a good idea, honestly.
I think it's a great idea. I like how there's junior director positions to follow behind senior director positions, because one day when we're done with our positions, they'll know what to do and they can be the next leaders to show the rest of the year.
Agreed.
Do you have any other ideas except for just this one?
Honestly, no. This is just something Tim and I've kind of talked about. You know, we can come up with more if that's what y'all want to do, if y'all want to look into this. Kind of what Caleb said earlier, you know, we were getting just a little bit ahead of ourselves. And I just put this together to explain more of what Tim was talking about, because I know several people were confused. But I mean, we can put together some more ideas if y'all are interested in that.
I think it's a good idea, and I mean, I think it's probably more people than what we have working now, and they have specific things that they're supposed to do.
But the thing with Tim's direction for it was that everybody gets to do jobs, but just because you're changing the name doesn't mean they'll do those jobs.
Correct. Tim's and I's discussion about that was, you know, this is basically the same committees we have now. So what changes? Basically, you're set in this position. So instead of, you know, running for like reporter, maybe instead you're running for the social committee chairman, something like that. So these would basically, in essence, be positions you're running for. That way it's something you want, and you know that from the beginning at state show, rather than waiting until, you know, our Fort Worth meeting to do that. Does that make sense? Maybe that you'll be more likely to want to do that job, or, you know, maybe if I wanted to do the showmanship committee and it was already taken by the time I got to Fort Worth, well, whatever I sign up for, I might not be as passionate about. So in essence, yes, it's kind of the same thing we're doing now, but hopefully it'll lead more kids to be more invested in their job, and maybe they'll want to do it a little more thorough.
I agree with that, because I think that some of us are like really passionate about this, and then other kids, they sign up for it and then never show up and never help us. So I think with this, we're getting more commitment and more kind of direction on which way to go, which kids are really more committed than others. So I think that'll help us out a little bit with this.
And if
Go ahead.
okay, like having this, especially as the whatever your position is, you really have work that you have to do, whereas it's mostly been titles, but whereas you have work you have to do, we need to know that these kids are really going to want to do it. So if that's making them give speeches, if it's having recommendation letters, that they put thought into it before state show.
Yeah.
I agree with that, and that's one thing that the polls have done forever that I wish the Horns would have done.
Yeah.
I mean, the polls, it actually is a process to go through and become a director, whereas for the Horns, stand up, give a speech why, and that's what they vote on.
I like the idea of having it set up like this way, because it's like there's a little more structure to the being a director and an officer in a sense, because you don't have what we have now is it's set up like, okay, you're a director, wait for me to tell you to do something.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So by doing this, they're going into it knowing they have a job title, and they have a job description.
Yeah. And, you know, we kind of looked at this as, so say I'm a director on the show ring organization committee. So say I'm confused on what I'm supposed to do. I then can know that I can go to my committee chair and, you know, they can answer my question. Or if they can't answer my question, you know, my next step is to go to the VP of Livestock. You know, if they can't answer my question, then I go to the president. That way, whoever's in that president position isn't getting bombarded with questions about all these different things. And, we'll probably still have on here, like secretary, treasurer, that sort of thing. Maybe, morph that into a committee or something. But this was, again, just ideas, completely open to suggestions, whatever. So. Is there any more questions, comments, concerns on this? Okay. The next thing I wanted to bring up was, this is our original list of, why is my screen sharing paused? Okay, there we go. Not that, I don't want that. Can y'all see, okay. Can y'all see the list of advantages or no?
No.
I'm sure.
I cannot.
Okay. There we go, maybe. What about now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is our original list that I had y'all send us before our first meeting. And this is just what we came up with. And so JD and I kind of wanted to go back through and see, are these advantages and disadvantages still the same? Have we answered questions if we get about them, that sort of thing. So on the advantages, we only pay when due. Last meeting, we had a pretty in-depth conversation. We talked about $15 for a due. That way it was only a $5 increase for people that were only members of one, but it was a $5 decrease for members that were both. And I think we came up with a $200 loss maybe. I don't remember the math. JD and I were bad at math that night. But there was a slight loss in dues because of the overlap of the 122 members. But is that kind of still along the lines of what y'all are thinking as $15? Just, obviously we're not saying we merged, it's going to be $15, but if we get questions, it's kind of what we're thinking. Is that still true?
Yes.
Yes. Scholarships. Did someone say something?
I said it sounds good to me.
Okay. Scholarships won't change. We're still waiting on to contact those two. But so far, none of them are going to change. Still show separate at state show and majors. We're still working on that. Yes, we will stay separate at state show, just like the same guidelines we've always done. The bred knowns and the bulls will show together. Does steer show together? I think. I don't remember. I don't know if
It's been a
steers.
while.
I don't know. I don't show steers anymore.
Wait,
But
Riley,
anyway,
I have a question.
yeah.
Okay, so you're saying that our show is still going to be separate. Our queens are still going to be the same. We're still going to have all the same scholarships. Everything's going to be the same. Then what's the real change of combining?
It's basically your committees, or it'd be the change on your presidents. It would be more of a one family running it. It would not be the trying to combine the forces of two presidents running is the main change that would happen there.
So I'm just wondering, what's wrong with two families running it?
I don't think there's anything wrong with two families running it. I just think it presents more challenges, which not to say those challenges can't be overcome. We've been doing that forever. But I guess from my point of view,
And
merging, go ahead.
if we do merge, it isn't supposed to be the adults that run it. It's a junior organization, and it's the kids that are supposed to make the decisions, of course, with adult help to make sure. But just not one family in charge, especially if we're able to do the leadership positions as I had suggested them.
I think the whole point of the merge or the proposed merge would be, we're all one Hartford family. There becomes some challenges and difficulties when we're two separate associations. I think the main thing is to be more effective as a unified group. Yes, we're two separate breeds, but but in the same, we operate for the most part, we operate the same way. We're all, for the most part, everyone on this committee actually or on this call is members of both associations. So why have two when we're all doing basically the same thing? And you know, there's pros and cons like we just went over. It's kind of everyone's opinion, but that's how JD and I see it at least. Does that answer your question, Audrey?
Yes.
Hey, going back, and I don't mean to like offend anybody, but I don't think you could say scholarships won't change as an advantage because we still don't know, but it's not a disadvantage either. So I really think that should be taken off the list.
Okay, we can do that. I agree. It's not an advantage or a disadvantage. Maybe we have a thought section on the end and it can go
In there.
under there. And also, I'm going to go ahead and delete the and majors just because that's up in the air right now. We will update y'all as soon as we get a quote or something. But again, like Jenna said earlier, that's subject to change at any time. But I mean, that's not necessarily due to us. You know, they could lose funding and all sorts of things and have to cut back. So we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow.
Exactly.
So the next one was state show will run smoother. I mean, that's debatable as well.
Some years will be better than others,
Yeah.
just as they are currently.
So
A lot of these numbers could go under number 4. Like number 6 would go under number 4. Number 8, number 11, 12, all
Yeah.
those would go under number 4.
I agree.
And I think all of these advantages should be facts, not opinions.
Okay, so let's do that right now then. Okay, so let's do some facts real fast. You know, if we were to merge, what would be a fact? We would only pay one due. I have to be able to type, sorry. And we're gonna say, you know, hypothetically, what we decide is gonna be $15 at the moment. Okay, that's subject to change. What are some other facts?
The queens and all the sweethearts will stay the same.
It's not going to change.
You all agree with that?
That's not on us to like decide. That's on the Paulettes and the auxiliaries. So
Okay.
I don't know if we can really call it a fact. I mean, I know they say they're not going to change, so I guess you could, but that's not for us to discuss.
Okay.
That's
So would it be
And there
better?
would only be one leader.
Real fast on the leadership. So would it be a fact to say we don't control the royalty, just so we can have like a fact sheet drawn up for our educational session?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. What other facts? What did you say a minute ago, Cooper?
Oh, I was saying that only one person would control the state show.
One
Or
president.
family.
Okay.
One president. That's the way to put it.
But that's subject to change depending on whatever, if we were to change the way the leadership runs.
Yeah.
I mean, practically at state show next year, the president is going to have that first president-elect or that vice president, which that family is also going to be helping. So practically, you're going to have like 3 families helping. So we can't just say that we're going to have one.
Exactly.
Because, you know, like you were president and Savannah was president. I don't know if that happened, but both of your families helped. It wasn't just her.
Yeah. We only will have one president role, but that doesn't mean necessarily that only one person is doing the state show. Does that make sense? So should I put one president role?
Yes.
What are some other facts?
We can't control the scholarships.
Good.
And we can't control major shows if they combine the steers or not.
That's true.
But at the same time, some of the major shows take influence from what our junior associations do.
And they'll think if we combined, then they ought to just combine them because there's no reason staying separate if we're not separate.
I think there's reason to stay separate. Just as an example, a lot of the shows show red Brahmin and gray Brahmin separate, but they're all one association, and that's only a phenotypic difference, just like a horned and a polled.
Like all the junior shows, red Brahmas and gray Brahmas show together except for their open shows.
Honestly, I don't know. I was told they show separate at Fort Worth, but I honestly don't know. That was a bad example.
Not for the junior show.
Okay.
Not for the junior show. They show together for junior show.
Okay.
I know for Houston they show separate, the open and I believe the junior show as well.
Okay.
That was just an example. That's one association that technically have two breeds with phenotypic differences. Would y'all say the fact that the state show will still show separate?
Yeah.
Well, the state show owned heifer show because everything else is combined.
I think it's been separate so long that I think it would be a big game changer if we combine them. So I think saying right now we keep them separate is probably a good idea.
Yeah.
Well, and like the national level has combined the association, but we still show separate. So as long as junior nationals is still showing separate, there's no reason for us to change that.
I agree. And the junior national bred and owned shows show horned and pulled together, and the owned shows the only thing that shows separate. And that's whose guidelines we follow. So I wouldn't see any reason to change that. What are some other facts?
There's one board on the national level.
Yes.
Yes.
A fact can be that we won't lose any publications. I know that was that Jenna brought up in our survey because they're run by the adult associations. Would y'all agree to that? Anyone?
I'm going to say we don't control them.
We don't control.
Publications.
Any other facts that y'all want to put on there?
I can't think of any at the moment, but I'm sure I'll come up with some throughout the week, and I'll just shoot an email over to you.
Perfect.
That would be great if everybody would do that.
Yeah. If y'all think of any facts, throughout the week, month, shoot them our way. We'll put them on the list.
All the way before June, the day that we have it.
Yeah. Let's go back through this just real fast. And we'll take out something. We'll just go through this, I guess. I don't think it's true that everyone will be more involved in one association rather than splitting time between two. Y'all can tell me if I'm wrong. I would like to think they'd be more involved, but I don't know what everyone else is going to do.
Or just take that off the list.
I would take it off.
Okay. Not having to make sure both associations are doing their part. That kind of goes, like Audrey said, under like state show will run smoother.
But honestly, the fact of state show running smoother or not running smooth depends on the current situations or who's running it. It's more or less an opinion rather than a fact.
Yes.
Agreed.
And I think the advantages are just opinions.
So there's something that I'd like to bring up. Like, discuss this whole thing about the junior associations combining. We've only talked about what it would do to the state show. And y'all may not agree with me, but the Hereford Association is still a breed regardless of what's going on in the show ring. And so to me, and my opinion is, I don't think that we should base our decisions solely on what we're going to do with our state show. And I realize that that's the largest thing our junior association does, but I don't think that should be the only deciding factor.
However, it's not, I agree, because we both raise horns and poles. And we sell cattle down here in South Texas that guys will not buy a polled Hereford because they only liked horned Herefords on their Brahman cows. And I fully understand that. And so when we come down here, we do not bring a single polled. Never have, and we probably will not. However, it is simply the junior association that's combining, not the senior association, not the adult members. You're still having your auxiliary and your polettes. It's simply the junior association, which does control the shows, or mainly the state show.
Here's something else that kind of might help you understand is we, like JD said, we're the junior association. We're meant for the youth. We're not meant for the commercial cattlemen. So like we have nothing to do with anything that associates with that. That's all the adults. So the cattlemen, like that's not for us. We're designed for the youth and the shows.
The field day,
yeah.
The main reason we have an association, a junior association, is to benefit the youth and, help them progress in their leadership and their skills and their love of Hereford cattle. The way we mainly do that is through our shows. So that is why our state show is our biggest concern, I guess, at this point, as well as all of our other junior shows throughout Texas.
Well, and I agree with what y'all just said, because, we enjoy the showing. I'm not saying that we're against any of that at all, because I love it completely. And I realize that is the main thing that the juniors can do at this point. But also in our junior association, through the project, we're able to grow and learn so that someday we're going to be the adults that are the commercial producers in the industry. And so we start in the junior association, grow up to the adult. And so I feel like junior association can kind of help us build to that. That was the point of it. And I realize that our state should be the only thing that the juniors put on by ourselves and everything, but I feel like we should consider everything through this decision.
What does combining the junior association, how does that change the breed though? I mean, is my question. As far as it's not going to make it where next time I put in embryos, they're going to come out all polled, they're going to come out all horned. If I could figure out how to do that right now, I would. I'm just saying, it's not going to change the way we market them. I'm still not going to ever send a polled bull down here. It doesn't matter if they're combined or they're not. I personally do not see that combining the junior associations really affects people wanting to buy a horned bull or a polled bull. Whereas I know your line one breeders are still mostly horned. They are horned. We don't have, I know there are purebred polled breeders out there. I know in my herd it is almost 50-50. And just any given year I could have 80% polls, and the next year I might have 80% horns. And that's just my opinion on them.
But that does bring up a good point. If the junior associations combine, yes, we're kind of preparing our youth for the future and hope that they continue being a part of our adult associations. And our adult association does focus somewhat on the commercial industry, because at the end of the day, the commercial industry drives the bottom line. So that does, combining our junior associations, how does that affect the commercial industry, I guess?
Well, I wasn't necessarily saying that it would affect our breed. I just thought that was maybe something that we'd want to discuss, as far as, not that it's necessarily going to affect our breed or how we market our cattle, but I mean, it's still a breed, and the reason why we get to have our show is because of the breed. And so, anyway, not that it's going to change the breed, just something that I thought maybe we should discuss.
No, I think that's a good point. That's kind of why we were asking, does it affect our commercial industry or our breed, I guess? I'm literally asking.
I mean,
I don't think it affects it.
And granted, most of us do not. Different thought. Don't worry about what I was about to say.
Does anyone else have any ideas or any discussion points, I guess, on that topic? No? Okay. So do y'all want to keep going on our list? Yeah. Okay. Better for keeping track of financials. I think that's an opinion, but I think it would be better just because
There'd be one set of books.
just from the simple fact, Savannah sends out, one set of donation letters, Carter sends out another. And yes, they all go to one place right now, but that way, Harbor Ranch is a member of Horned and Pulled. That way, we're not getting two separate letters.
I think that kind of has to go back to the 501 as well, and like how we keep our money and manage it. I do think that is a good advantage because we've only got one bank account and one set of numbers to look at versus two and try to figure out where it's all at.
Yeah, I agree.
With that. I mean, that's.
And that was one of the main questions from breeders that answered our survey that talked to me about it. They wanted to know exactly where their money was going, and I think that would be easier to track with one group and one set of financials. Less confusion on who is in charge of what. And just going back to our idea of the leadership positions, if I am chair of the Creative Arts Committee, now I know exactly what is expected of me. And I think, maybe this is something we consider, draw up, this is as the Creative Arts Committee, I need to get in contact with so-and-so about the supplies by this date, and I need to have the tables and the supplies set up by this, and then that sort of thing. So I think it would be less confusion.
Like having a list of expectations for that role and having somebody that's higher up to review them and make sure that you have everything done.
I think it's going to hold people more accountable if you've got a set job for them.
Yeah, I agree.
I like that idea.
Kind of the main problem right now is people not being there and being reliable.
Less leadership positions would mean more and be stronger. Does anyone remember who sent that one in? Or do they want it one after that? I don't know what that one means because I think our leadership positions mean something now and are strong, but.
I think it kind of just needs to be deleted. But.
Okay. Is anyone opposed to deleting that? Less stressful environment.
It's always debatable.
I think that comes and goes. Anytime at a state show, I'm stressed for different reasons. I don't know I don't know if we can control if it's a less stressful environment or not. Anyone mind if I take that off? Less arguments within the association. There's always going to be, disagreements and, people are going to have to talk together and work together, but there's the possibility there could be less arguments with everyone having a set job and the set expectations for them. Still having, yes.
Because like at some shows, it's a struggle to get people to come and help in the ring because they want to go hang out with friends. And I think if we give them a job, they'll be more committed and have a more idea of when I need to be there and what time. And I think that'll help a little bit.
Still having separate shows. We took that other one off ahead. I'm gonna go ahead and take that one off too. Because yes, we'll still have the separate own show at state show, but we're getting more information on everything else. Being bigger and better as a state. Yes, we'll be a bigger association. I guess it's your opinion whether we're better or not.
Agreed.
We'll take out better.
We will be bigger though.
We will be bigger. Stronger leadership board. I guess that's debatable. What do y'all think on that one?
I think with the way you have it lined out and the fact that like people have a specific job, it is going to make it a little bit stronger.
Especially if they have a set of expectations to work up to.
Because it's a matter of holding people accountable. And if you give them something and there's something they have to do, like you've told them, hey, like this is what's required of you. So.
Yep. More members working harder to be on the board. I think, whether or not we move forward with the merger, JD kind of said that, he or his committee on the Horned Committee would recommend to the Horned Association to maybe put into our bylaws that, you have to apply beforehand to be a director, just to, increase that, increase the want to and increase the dedication, I guess. So.
I love the way the polls do it.
Yeah.
No doubt about it.
Yeah. And I think, if we decide to merge, I think that would, in my opinion, I would want that to be a qualification is, you need to apply for it or do, I think, do the polls still do poster boards? Yes, no?
Yes.
Yes. Maybe put together a presentation or a speech or something just to show you're really dedicated and thought about this before you got there. Larger scholarships. I don't know about that.
Nobody does.
Does anyone know where anyone was heading with that?
No.
I think that can probably be deleted. The adult associations could support only one association, which would make it easier on them. I mean, that's debatable. New bylaws that are more related to what we are currently doing. And like we talked about, a few meetings ago, I think no matter what we decide, maybe even the committee's recommendation this year to the Horn side would be to update the bylaws since they're from 1995.
Yeah.
But that's just a thought. Disadvantages. Royalty will most likely change. I'm going to go ahead and take that one out just because we've been told, they're not going to, but again, that's not really up to us. Better to say you're involved in 2 associations rather than 1. This one's still true. It's 2 lines you get to put on your resume. I guess my thoughts kind of behind that, and this is just, me being in college and I'm actually in, a resume building type class. If it's relevant enough to put on your resume, people are gonna know, are most likely gonna be from the ag industry and know what those associations are. And I would think you'd get more questions rather than it benefiting you. But I want to hear everyone's thoughts on that. That's just my personal opinion.
Coming from like being in college and having to make several resumes for jobs and different scholarships, if you're applying for it and it's on your thing, like you should already have enough information anyway to fill up your resume. But secondly, like that second line isn't going to help you. I mean, I know I put mine on the same line because it is the same thing. I do the same thing in both organizations.
But and if we did it the way that Riley suggested, it's I directed, I coordinated, I did whatever. It wasn't just a title.
Yes. And, I think, Tim commented on our last meeting when he talked to the USDA lady, she wanted to see, what you did, not just that you held the title. And I think that's what most employers are looking at, what did you do in this position rather than, okay, you were a treasurer, what did you do? That sort of thing.
I just keep that on there just for people to talk about at the educational.
Okay. Officer positions will be split in half.
Honestly, that one is just up in the air.
I think you could take it off because we've seen what you're looking at with officer positions already.
Okay.
So, and it looks like we're going to have more leadership roles if we do merge.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think anyone wants to lose any leadership positions. So, we can design this however we want. If you want to have 50, we can. If you want to have 10, we can. But I think more people would be leaning towards having as many as we have now, if not more. So I don't think that's a disadvantage. Is everyone okay with taking that off?
Yes.
Scholarships looks better from 2 associations. Hopefully scholarships aren't going to change, and we can't control that. Good one. Less likely to be involved with royalty.
We already put that one in the facts. So
Gosh dang it. Takes away volunteer jobs for adults working with each organization. And that's something I did not talk about when, I presented y'all the leadership thing. I think from what I take that as is volunteer jobs as advisors. And I think, do we each have 5? I don't know what Pold has. Does Pold have 5 advisors? 5 sets? Anyone know off the top of their head? I think it's 5. 5 or 6?
There's enough, I can tell you that.
Okay, whatever it is. But I think, we can have as many advisor sets as, we feel needed. So if just going off of, if we were to do something similar to the idea I presented earlier, maybe you need to have 2 sets of advisors to help with the VP of membership. Maybe you need 3 sets of advisors to help with the VP of livestock. And, maybe you need 4 sets of advisors to help with the VP of competitive events. I think we can have as many advisors as y'all feel we need. Because don't get me wrong, we love working with the adults and think that, we need adult guidance from time to time. So I don't think we want to get rid of any volunteer jobs, but was someone else thinking of a different volunteer job? Am I taking it wrong? Is everyone okay with me deleting that or no?
yes.
Yeah.
High risk of losing sponsors or money. This is a touchy subject, I guess. Because yes, there was 20% of the people in our survey that said they would not donate. But what I didn't get a chance to show y'all is if you go through and look person by person, some of the ones that answered no also had an other comment. And, it would be, yes, I would, but I would rather them not. But I mean, that is something, that is to consider. There are some people that are very stuck in their ways and don't want to see us merge, and, they might pull their funding. We don't know. I think Caleb's idea of getting, a for sure, yes, I'm for, no, I'm against, I think that would give us a better idea of how many sponsors or how much money we're going to lose. But I would say that's still a disadvantage. Would y'all agree?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Not being able to control scholarships that are given. We kind of already talked about that.
Still can't.
Still can't control it. Leadership positions. I'm going to go ahead and delete that. Fear of majors combining shows. That's a real disadvantage. Hopefully we'll have more information for you next time. But like, we've said, and Jenna made the comment, we can't control what's going to happen in 10 or 20 years. So wanting to get topics across the organization will be more time consuming. I don't really know. Anyone have any comments on that or any ideas on that one?
I mean, I could see where it could be more time consuming because you have to get it across to more people, but I don't see it as a real reason to not combine. That wouldn't be like the deciding factor, like, oh, it's going to take me more time to communicate this across.
Yeah. I mean, from my point of view, I feel like it'd be easier because, you know, I'd have one list of these are all of our juniors. So I know I need to send it out to them rather than going and searching and say, okay, here's the Horn juniors, here's the Pole juniors, who's a member of both, so I don't send them to. That's just my opinion, though.
I agree. Yours are.
And that's spoken from experience because I've done that. Less scholarships and less leader positions. I'm going to go ahead and delete both of those because those we don't control that. The scholarships, and we've said we already can add more or keep the same number of leadership positions if we want. This next one, does everyone understand or I guess have a grasp on how, if we were to merge, how we would merge into this role, I guess? We don't want anybody that's already earned a spot to lose their position. They won't lose their position. So say JD and I, we run at State Show this year. So we have 3-year terms now, starting in 2019, I guess.
Yes.
We'll go off in 2021, right? 28, 20, however that works. Whether or not we vote and we decide to merge at State Show 2019, JD and I will still get our 2 years left. We might shake up, you know, what role we're gonna have, but we still get to be on the leadership. We still get to be on the board. Does that make sense to everyone? And then same if, you know, I have 1 more year this year, 2 more years, whatever it is, and JD has 3 more years. I still get to stay on for my 2, he gets to stay on for his 3. Does everyone understand that? That was a big question I know people had, and I want to make that clear that no one's going to lose their spot. Y'all earned it fairly, we're not taking it away.
Agreed. And this is just like an idea maybe that I just came up with. So if you were, let's say, you had just started your elected time through those 4 years, right?
3, I think.
3.
3. You could maybe, if that was the year that they had started doing our new positions that we had, if they did combine, you could go ahead and jump right into one of those positions there.
Exactly. Okay. And you know, so the Horn side has 16 senior directors and 4 junior directors each year. So we have 20. And then the Pole side, y'all are the same, right? So y'all have 16. Someone correct me if I'm wrong, 16, I think.
I think so.
Okay. So total we have 36 positions. I think that's right. No?
No, that's not a 3-year deal.
What?
16 divided by.
Huh?
Nothing. I don't remember how many were on there.
4 for 3 years, 4, 8, 12. I'm really bad at math. Okay, so 12 and 4, so the Horton side has 16 and the Pole side has 12. That sounds right. Yeah, 28. Did I do that right?
I don't know.
Okay, I'm really bad at math. Okay, so say we have 28 positions. You know, we have enough spots to fill what we have in that scenario if we were to go with that. And then we'd actually have to add more junior directors to fill those positions that we can elect that year. But everyone would still keep their same stuff. Does that make sense? So I'm going to take that off at disadvantage. More stress on one family to run State Show by themselves. That's true. You know, it would be a lot of stress on, you know, one president, one person. But I also think that it would be more evenly distributed between the committees. Because as of right now, you know, the Pole president and the Horn president basically have to run everything before Fort Worth. So if any of the committees needed something done before then, that was kind of the president's job to do it, since really we don't sign up for committees until Fort Worth. Whereas if that idea we went with, you'd know from State Show to State Show what your job is. And I think that would help with the stress, but I mean, I still agree that would be quite a bit of stress on one family. Possibly losing some kids because they are just for one side.
if they still would want to show Herefords, I mean, they would still be Hereford kids, correct? I mean, I'm just asking.
Madeline, you're on twice.
Yeah, because I'm fixing to leave the office, so I have to get off the computer and go to my phone.
Oh, okay. Does anyone have any questions, comments on the possibly losing some kids because they're just for one side?
I don't think we'll lose anybody because of the fact that like they're showing cattle. So like if you're, I don't know, never mind. I don't know where my brain's going with that. But like if you're a Hereford person, you're gonna show regardless. So you're gonna show what's good. So it doesn't matter if it's cold or if it's a horn. Like.
So just reverting back to a point that was brought up a minute ago about the officer positions and things like that. Honestly, I was doing some looking, and that's not really our place to say that the directors that get elected this year will still be on the board next year, because that's more of the board's decision whenever they write the new bylaws. So I think we're stepping out over our bounds again.
Okay.
Just trying to make sure we keep with our job that we've been given and don't stretch it too far.
I agree. But I also think, is there anyone that would be on the board that would say, you were fairly elected this position, now you don't get it anymore because we're switching?
Very true, but at the same time, it's still not our decision to say that if someone says, well, my decision to voting is going to be whether they're going to keep their job when we merge, we can't say for sure that yes, they'll keep their position if the board reverts and says no, they can't keep their position, we're going to wash it clean and bring in a whole new set.
Okay.
Because then whoever listened to us, now they're mad at us, and now it's our problem.
I agree. So should I put that back on a disadvantage, or should I just leave it off?
I would just leave it off, and if the question does come up, just say that's not our decision to make.
Okay. I'll just say that's not our decision to make. Our recommendation is that you do it in a fall-off process as they get to fill out their terms, but again, that's not our decision. So.
Yeah.
And then entry numbers might fall. Personally, in my opinion, I feel like if you have a Hereford heifer that you want to show at state show, I feel like you're going to show regardless of what the association's doing. But if someone feels differently, please speak up. Anyone? So should I leave it on disadvantage or take it off?
Leave it on.
Okay. And then these were just kind of thoughts that y'all sent in that really didn't fit a disadvantage or an advantage. Only states not be combined. That's still true. Paulettes and Hereford women are doing just fine by themselves. That's true. But our junior associations merging does not affect whether they combine. Yes, it'll semi-affect, their activities and how they handle a few things, but it doesn't affect whether they combine or not.
We should probably take that one off because if you say it at the educational, then everybody's going to snap back and be like, wait, but that's not going to change anything. That's just going to lead to like another 30-minute conversation over just that.
Okay, good idea. The older kids that are in college are about to be done with the association, and this will be thrown on the high school age kids groups. What do y'all think about that one?
I believe that is how it's probably going to work, because those of us that are almost finished with being a junior, we can still give advice, but we can't determine what's going to happen.
That's the way it's been for however long.
Yeah, the kids that are or the people that are in college or fixing to get done with high school and go to college that aren't going to be a part of the association anymore. So then it's going to move down to the younger kids, and they can handle handled the merger and the transitions and things.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's gonna be. Go ahead.
I mean, it's still going to be thrown down to the younger kids or anything, even if we don't merge because college kids are leaving. They might have a higher leadership position. It's still getting passed down to the younger kids. So they're still going to have it be put onto them no matter if we merge or not.
Yeah, but the merger comes with a lot of extra responsibilities of making sure things get transferred over smoothly. So with not having the older kids with the experience of it, you lose some experience here and there, but you also gain some as the kids that are coming up with that experience.
Sure.
It's a back and forth setup.
Yeah. So our next spot is planning state show shouldn't be the only reason we combine. What do y'all think about that one?
I think it needs to stay.
Okay. People feel like Texas can still support 2 association because of the numbers. I don't know what people feel, so I think that can stay.
Yeah.
How will scholarships be handled? We have no control over that. Do y'all care if I take it off?
Go for it.
And then we already talked, we have no control on major stock shows merging. So I'm gonna take that one off too. And I mean, I want y'all to tell me what y'all think on this, because people have asked whether we are going to dissolve both of them and form a new if this were to happen, or if we want to merge. And like I pointed out when we went over this the first time, just from Anna Kruger was the one that recommended, she has a little bit of background in this. She said a merger, so we're both since we're both 501c3 organizations would be easier. And I've checked, and both Jack and Robbie say both the junior horned and junior polled are 501c3s. So she said that in her opinion that would be easier, because it'd be one set of financial reporting and all of that. But what do y'all think? Because how the motion was presented at the Fort Worth meeting would be a dissolve and form a new, which we can amend the motion to merge rather than dissolve and form a new. But what do y'all think? Would you rather dissolve and form a new or merge? The only thing, and I guess the main discussion on this is finances, because I don't think. Well, I don't want to say that because I have no background in it. I don't know the exact how that would happen. We would need to bring in financial advisors, lawyers to figure out how that would work. But from what I know about it, if we were to dissolve and form a new, the funds from both of our associations, we can't just gift them to our new association. So that's why she was saying it would be easier to merge. What do y'all think?
Hey, Riley,
Yes.
here's a thought. What if we brought someone in at State Show to kind of explain how that would?
Yes. I would love to have someone do that. And I don't know, Stephanie is your mom. Does she have enough? I mean, I don't mean this to sound rude. Does she have enough background to explain it thoroughly?
Yes, she does.
Okay.
And she can if y'all want her to.
Okay. Maybe we can bring her in, and then I know we have several past junior members that are lawyers that deal with financial accounting. So I would be more than happy to see if y'all want us to see if they're available to come in, and they can talk a little bit on it to see, what our options would be if we wanted to do this.
I think if we do bring someone in, it needs to stay as the pros and cons of dissolving or merging, that kind of deal. Because if we go in and say, well, we're merging and this is why, then people will think that we've already made the decision to merge rather than dissolve.
Okay. So would you rather wait and not bring someone in at State Show?
I think it would be,
for the financial part of it, I guess.
I think it would be a good idea for someone to come in and explain how it works.
Okay.
But I don't believe that we need that in depth of an explanation.
Okay.
I think that it's a good idea to have somebody talk about not merging the 501c3, whatever it's called. But we also need to keep in mind if at State Show, if we're hardly going to have any time to talk about the pros and cons.
True.
And if we do bring someone in, just more or less have them there to explain what's going to happen with the fund.
Okay. Well, then I would probably recommend to y'all, and y'all can tell me if you don't want this or don't like this, have Anna sit up there, because I'm assuming, so from what I understand, our banquets are now going to be in the show ring area where we normally stall. And so I guess my recommendation would just be have her up there if any questions arise.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that'll be beneficial. So that's kind of, what JD and I had for tonight. Do y'all have any other, questions, comments? I think we touched on everything I have.
So everyone is in agreement that, we should have an educational / question and answer session at State Show. We'll kind of keep you updated on schedule-wise when we can kind of fit it in. But does everyone think that that's still the best idea? And to present, kind of a pro and con list of what we discussed, and then just some thoughts, and just see what everyone else thinks?
Yes.
All right. Well, if y'all don't have any more questions, comments, concerns, I think we're good for tonight. 2.5 hours later. Sorry. But I really appreciate all the good discussion that went on tonight, and I appreciate y'all getting on a Sunday night. I think it makes a difference to people. So y'all don't have anything else? Thank you.
You.
Y'all have a good week.